Good evening. Delhi, the national capital, is going into lockdown. Though the Aam Aadmi Party government in the national capital is calling this a weekend lockdown, for all practical purposes, malls, gyms, spas will be shut throughout the week. In fact, so will dine-in restaurants. Cinema halls will work with just 30% capacity on the weekdays, and on weekends they'll be shut. This is after 2 straight days of Delhi clocking more than 15,000 cases per day. The Aam Aadmi Party government says they have no choice. This is just way too many cases, way more than the peak that Delhi saw in June, July, August, September last year. But many folks like mall owners, shopkeepers, restaurateurs are all saying that this will literally and figuratively kill them and kill their business. Will this weekend lockdown actually bring down Delhi's caseload? That's the question we're asking. But first, we're getting in the story.
अभी जो स्थिति है, सरकार में लॉकडाउन किसी भी तरह का करने का कोई विचार नहीं है.
On the 2nd of April, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal said there will be no lockdown in the capital because the situation was not as serious as before. Since that declaration, Delhi has officially become the worst hit city in the country by a long shot. More than 10,000 cases are being recorded every day since the 11th of April, and that's serious enough for Kejriwal to come out and make this announcement today.
वीकेंड के ऊपर कर्फ्यू दिल्ली के अंदर लगाया जाएगा.
The weekend curfew comes into effect from 10 p.m. on Friday and is on till 6 a.m. Monday, but it involves several curbs for the weekdays as well. For instance, malls, gyms and spas will be closed in the city for all 7 days of the week, till at least the end of the month. But movie theatres will be allowed to function at 30% capacity from Monday to Friday and then closed for the weekend. You can no longer go and grab a meal at a restaurant, but you can get the food home delivered instead. Salons won't be allowed to function over the weekend, but they can be open from Monday to Friday, provided they maintain COVID stops.
वीकेंड में अक्सर जो लोग निकलते हैं वो अपने एंटरटेनमेंट के लिए या दूसरी एक्टिविटीज़ के लिए निकलते हैं, जो कि कर्टेल की जा सकती है, जो कि जिसके ऊपर अंकुश लगाया जा सकता है. उससे बहुत ज़्यादा लोगों को दिक्कत नहीं होनी चाहिए.
Delhi is experiencing its 4th COVID wave, but this undoubtedly is the worst so far. Last year, Delhi was under complete lockdown between March 22nd and May 18th, and after this, the capital reopened in stages. And with each stage of unlock, caution was thrown to the wind.
यहाँ आप देखिए एक स्कूल के बाहर, सरकारी स्कूल के बाहर किस तरह से बड़ी संख्या में यहाँ पर जो प्रवासी मजदूर हैं वो यहाँ पर बैठे हैं. इनका सामान है, यहाँ पर महिलाएं हैं, बच्चे हैं, और सबसे अहम बात यह है कि सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग इन लोगों के बीच में नहीं है.
Delhi's weekend curfew decision comes a day after Maharashtra, the worst hit state in the country, decided to relock. But the question is, can these curfews and mini lockdowns help bring down the surge in cases?
We're just getting some breaking news. Even as the curfew is going to come into effect in about, less than 24 hours, Delhi has reported 16,699 new cases. That's a slight dip. On Wednesday, we had 17,000 plus cases, but the positivity rate has jumped to 20%, which means 1 out of 5 people who are being tested in Delhi are turning out to be positive. So, a huge cause of concern as far as Delhi is concerned. We know that the cases are more or less in that 16,000, 17,000 level, which is a record high for Delhi. We didn't see this kind of a peak even in the last wave, the first wave as it were. But now it's not just the number of cases, but also the positivity rate, which has gone up to 20%, which means that 1 out of 5 people in Delhi who are getting tested are testing positive. So that is indeed a situation for grave concern. Tom Vadakan, BJP spokesperson, joining us. Atishi is AAP MLA and spokesperson. Dr. Surajit Chatterjee is senior consultant for internal medicine at the Indraprastha Apollo Hospital. And Manish Baheti is a hospitality expert and the founder director of SAG. I'll start with Atishi because, many are asking, people have been writing to us on Twitter, etc. What is the logic of this weekend lockdown? It's not like the coronavirus spreads only during the weekend. So how does this help? Please explain.
See, I think first of all, Zachariah, one of the important things that we need to understand is that a decision to shut down the city, whether it be for a couple of days, whether it be across the week, is always a very difficult decision for a government to take. On the one hand, there is the spread of the COVID virus and the extremely high number of cases that we are seeing in Delhi on an everyday basis. On the other hand, is the issue of the lives and livelihoods of people, of businesses that get affected, of Delhi's economy that gets affected. And that is the reason why the Delhi government has refrained from taking any decisions about lockdowns or closing down the city for a few days a week for this time. However, given the kind of caseload that Delhi is now getting, with more than 15,000 cases that have come for the past 4-5 days every day, I think it is some more stringent restrictions needed to be introduced. But for the 5 days of the week, because you asked about the weekend lockdown, 5 days of the week are really times when most of the population has to go to work, bread earners have to step out of their home, offices are functional. Saturday and Sunday are the days when people step out of their homes either for shopping or for leisure activities, and that is the reason it is not as if closing down on Saturday and Sunday is not going to affect the economy. Of course it does. When theatres get shut down, when restaurants get shut, when malls get shut, of course it affects the economy and it's a source of great concern. But somewhere stronger restrictions are needed at this point of time. And this is the reason why the weekend lockdown has been introduced and why most stringent
I
restrictions
just want
have been put
some
in place.
clarity for our viewers' sake, because it's, I mean, while you call it a weekend curfew or a weekend shutdown or whatever, fact is that malls, gyms, spas are shut through the week. Dine-in restaurants are shut through the week. Only home delivery is allowed for the next 15 days. And I understand also cinema halls on the weekdays will be operating at 30% capacity, and on the weekends they'll be shut. So while you may call it a weekend shutdown or whatever it is, fact is this is as good as a mini lockdown.
No, I don't think that it is yet, as we are in a state where we will have a complete lockdown across the 5 days, because in a complete lockdown, only and only essential services would be functional, and no one is allowed to step out of their homes, go to offices, go to work, etc., which is what we had last year from March to June. At this point of time, Delhi government is not considering this. It is not, I mean, it is of course not ruled out given how the circumstances pan out. But at this point of time, we are trying to limit the number of activities, but functional, the economy will be functional, offices will be functional, public transport will be functional, people can go to work. And so we are hoping that the lives and livelihoods of people do not get impacted the same way as they would if it was a complete lockdown.
Okay, Tom, I mean, you can't argue with that. You need people to work. You need the work economy to go forth. Yes, and Atishi is right. Most people who are working Monday to Friday step out on the weekends for recreational activities which are non-essential. That can be stopped. And there is evidence to show, for example, in restaurants and so on, and I'll ask the restaurateur this as well, the hospitality expert, but there is evidence to show that the recent surge has been fueled by, you know, places like restaurants where people remove masks and there is crowding and pubs and nightclubs and so on and so forth. So you can't quibble with the fact that while on the one hand they've said, okay, Monday to Friday you can keep the work economy going, the non-essential part they're clamping down on because of the grave situation that Delhi finds itself in now. Tom?
Yeah. Well, this is like vaulting the stable after the horses are away. The point here is weekend, you call it curfew or lockdown, the message is loud and clear.
Tom, you'll have to mute your TV, please.
The point here is just a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something wrong with it. Just a sec, I'll just get. Yeah. Am I?
Yeah, now you are. Go ahead. Yeah, I can hear you.
This is too late in the day. 17,000 and counting. Today there is a dip, and this is not the reason why because of this weekend lockdown. They're taking it lightly. The Chief Minister is on all the channels with his PR work. There is no cremation ground. There's no facility to even bury people. There's no wood available. There's no oxygen available. There is no beds available. What are we talking about? They come on television and say, all this is available. We are breaking the chain. What chain are you breaking? You have not acted. You have dismantled the system that was set in. And then you come to on television to tell us that, well, everything is honky-dory. People are dying.
No,
And
but Tom,
when
Tom, if you're so concerned, I mean, you're part of the central government. Why don't you guys do something about it? What are you doing exactly about it?
this is a federal structure. We can't interfere with it. It's for the state government to take a call. We'll back them. We will do everything possible to back them. But you need a government that's listening. It is only after the meeting with the governor that
Okay.
some decisions have been taken. Now, I didn't want to speak about that. Till yesterday, he was on television saying, well, no lockdown. And now what is this? This is some new word he has invented. Well, and Atishi is here trying to explain and justify all the actions. People
Okay.
are dying in the streets of Delhi.
No,
and
but
then here's this
may
NLA.
I just quietly remind our viewers, you say federal structure, but you guys went to the Supreme Court challenging the Delhi government's powers and authorities. Be that as it may, that's a different debate.
But-
I don't want
but-
I don't want to get
but-
into
but
that, Tom. I don't want to get into
if
that.
you give them more
No, no.
power, you
I
have the streets of
I want to
Delhi.
focus squarely on COVID because I think you're right. I mean, we are neck deep in this problem. We shouldn't have waited for 16, 17,000 cases a day to take these measures. And you're right. 4 days ago, just 4 days ago, the Chief Minister said no lockdown. So what's changed between 4 days and now? Let me go to Dr. Chatterjee first. Dr. Chatterjee, tell us what is happening in your hospital, and when you speak to colleagues who are working in other hospitals, just how bad is the situation in Delhi? Because we are given to understand, and today even, you know, the Chief Minister in his press conference said there are 5,000 beds available across Delhi. So please tell us, what is the actual situation on the ground as you see it?
The situation in private hospitals is not good at all. But yes, as far as the number of beds go in the city, they're available. But unfortunately, what has happened is because the infrastructure and all that are not maybe good in the government hospitals, people are not willing to go to that hospital. If you would have a good infrastructure in the government hospitals, all people would be willing to go there. We are all products from all these government medical colleges, which have fantastic doctors. So why aren't people going there? We all are products of all these government medical colleges. So there is obviously something lacking in them that the people are not going to these centers, even when they have enough beds and really expert doctors. The load is maximum on the private hospitals because everybody and anybody wants to come to the private hospitals, which obviously will have limited capacity to accommodate such a deluge of patients that we are talking about now.
But I'm
17,000
just going to play devil's advocate here. Would you fault the people? A, they have the capability and they have the capacity to afford a private hospital. So let's leave that. I mean, that's a given. But would you fault them for wanting to come to a private hospital, for wanting to get a bed in a private hospital as opposed to going to a government hospital?
No, I'm not faulting them at all. But what I'm trying to say is that the number of beds which the government is claiming that they have, that's actually true. But people are not going there because of the lack of the lack of infrastructure over there, because the lack of facilities over there. If the facilities would have been equivalent to the private hospitals, everybody would be going there. Why should somebody come and spend money unnecessarily? People quite a few times have no insurances and they have to pay from their nose. Even a lakh of rupees or 1.5 lakh rupees
Yeah.
or 1.10 lakh rupees is not easy for anybody to pay. So obviously they are paying that much of money just to have the good infrastructure and to have a better facility.
Okay, and that's where the problem is because most private hospitals are running out of beds. I'll come to Atishi in just 1 second. Now, let me also get in Mr. Baheti because the one industry that will be worse hit because of this weekend lockdown. I'll come to, just give me 1 second, Atishi. Let me get Mr. Baheti also. He's a restaurateur. I will give you a chance to respond to both Tom and to the doctor. But Mr. Baheti is a restaurateur. I just want to know because your sector is going to be worst hit by this weekend lockdown, as it were. One restaurateur, in fact, told me that the first lockdown brought us down to our knees. This lockdown is going to break our back. Can you guys survive just on home delivery? Do you see many standalone restaurants surviving after this 15-day lockdown? And frankly, we don't know if it's going to be 15 days. For now, it's 15 days. If the caseload doesn't come down, God knows, it could even extend to beyond 15 days. Mr.
Absolutely. Zaka, this is one of the worst times for the hospitality industry in Delhi. 95,000 people are directly involved in the organized hotels and restaurants of Delhi. Now, that is not just 95,000 people, that's 95,000 into at least 5 because there are that many families that they are supporting.
Yeah.
To add to that, the entrepreneurs who had taken a huge hit all of last year, they got on their feet barely in January. New restaurants opened. There was hiring happening. There was a wave of hope for the hospitality industry of Delhi. Now, what has happened is that when there is a lockdown, of course, it's going to be a huge loss for the entire industry, hotels as well as restaurants,
Yeah.
because you just cannot survive on home deliveries. Number one. Number two, there have been new additions of restaurants, which has happened. People thought that there would be hope again in 2021, so they are also going to be in a terrible shape.
Of course.
The point here is that there should be, and I say this with all confidence, and you can have this verified, in the organized hotel and restaurant sector in Delhi, people were following the COVID protocol to the letter. We are not concerned about what happened during the marketplaces, but what we are saying is that we took all necessary steps to make sure that the restaurants and the hotels were following the COVID protocol to the letter. And now with what has happened, we are back 5 steps because of, the fresh round of investment that happened in the sector. When the government is allowing religious congregations and political congregations in various parts of the country, why is it being singled out? Why is this happening in Delhi? I mean, and why is the hospitality sector bearing this brunt?
No,
is my
it's
question.
not just in Delhi. I mean, there are night curfews now, and I think 16
I
out
know
of
in Maharashtra as well.
16 states.
I'm just
or something.
saying, what kind of government are we having, whether at the federal,
but
level or
having
at the
said
state
that,
level?
again, I just playing devil's advocate before I go back to Atishi is, we've also seen pictures, numerous ones, videos in the last few months of people, young people, going to pubs and nightclubs, and obviously these are places where you don't wear your mask because you have to eat and drink and whatever. There have been numerous instances of people throwing social distancing to the winds. Be that as it may, I want to come back to Atishi. Two specific questions. Number one, what Tom asked. The Chief Minister was on television just 4 days ago over the weekend saying there's no need for a lockdown. So what's changed between then and now? And two, what the doctor said, very importantly, I think the Chief Minister also referred to it in his press address today, that people want to go to private hospitals. But can you blame them? I mean, would you go to a government hospital?
First of all, I think that the point raised, frankly, by Mr. Tom Burdekin just seems slightly odd, given the fact that, yes, of course, situations will change. I think situations, the Chief Minister himself has said on repeated occasions that, no, we are not considering a lockdown at the moment, but we cannot rule it out. And obviously, one cannot rule it out because the nature of the pandemic is such, and this is the 4th wave that Delhi is seeing, and the number of cases is much, much higher than the highest point of any of the earlier waves. And apart from today, when there has been a slight decrease in the number of cases since yesterday, the number of cases is just seeing a sharp increase every day. Therefore, more restrictions have to be put. My colleague from the restaurant industry raised some concerns, and we are totally with him. The impact on the economy affects the government as well. It affects all the people employed with the restaurant industry. It affects the economy as a whole in Delhi. And this is not a step that we have taken lightly or easily. This is a step that we have taken, one, with a lot of deliberation, and two, I think we have taken it at a point where we felt that no other choice was possible. We would also be keen that once the wave is past, once things are under control, we would also like the hospitality industry to be able to get back into action. But three, about the point that the doctor from Apollo Hospital raised, I think it is not that patients are not coming into government hospitals. They are. One has to understand that the scale of government hospitals and private hospitals is very different. For example, GTB Hospital has 1,500 beds. LNJP Hospital has about 1,700 beds. Now, Rajiv Gandhi Hospital has about 650 or 700 beds. Whereas even some of the largest private hospitals, if I'm not mistaken, hospitals like Apollo, Gangaram, etc., have about 250 to 300 beds. So obviously, even with the same number of patients going into private hospitals and into government hospitals, the facilities that are smaller are likely to fill up faster.
No, so
even as on today, there are more patients who are occupying beds in government hospitals. But because the government infrastructure is larger, there are still vacancies available. And via your channel, I would like to urge people across Delhi, please do not panic. Beds are available, oxygen facilities are available. There is an app called Delhi Fights Corona that gives you an exact status of which hospital has how many beds.
You know,
and if you cannot,
by the way, you'd be interested in knowing this. Our reporter did a story using that app. That app says beds are available. He called 5 hospitals, 3 government, 2 private. to check how many beds are available. None of those folks said any beds are available. So anyway, be that as it may, I just want to come back.
I can say on your channel that if anyone comes to LNJP hospital or GTB hospital, beds are available and people will be admitted. The only situation that we are suggesting to people not to get admitted is if they have a mild case.
Symptom. Fair enough.
We would like the beds to be available for anyone who is in a serious
I will make this
condition.
appeal to Delhiites who are watching this program. Don't insist on a private hospital. Private hospitals have much lesser capacity than government hospital. Please go to government hospital if you're in dire need of oxygen, ventilator, etc. I just want to come back to Tom. You know, one other thing that's before I come to him, this number that has come today, which is tonight, which is in the last 24 hours, 16,699, is slightly less than the 70,000 plus that we had yesterday, is also because of the testing. The testing has gone down substantially. Today's tests were only 82,000 cases, where the positivity rate was 20%. Yesterday, there were more than 108,000 tests, where the positivity rate was 16%. So don't be, misled by the fact that the number of cases have come down in Delhi. So has the testing. But be that as it may, Tom, simple question to you. You folks are campaigning in Bengal and in other states. You folks are, gung-ho about the Kumbh Mela. I mean, you should be the last people to, question the Delhi government or any government for what they're doing.
Zakir, now that you have moved from Delhi to other states, let me tell you the Election Commission is taking cognizance of it in Bengal. There is an issue being sorted out, and you have yourself your channel has reported that there are moves to kind of postpone or cancel some of the issues happening in Kumbh. So I don't want to get this issue mixed. I'm a citizen of Delhi, and I know what people are going through. The government hospitals that she's talking about, your journalists, your people, not just your channel, other channels are also reporting zero availability. People are calling, there is no ventilator, there's no oxygen. And what are we talking about? The facility, it's not just a bed they're looking for, they need support system. Ventilators are not working. Doctors are not available.
Tom,
you have
but
vacuum all
Kanji,
opened up. And what is are you going to keep a halwai there looking after patients? Are you going to have halwais looking after patients? How many doctors are with the Banker?
All right.
Are you saying
Look, no. I'm going to pull back from both the political spokespersons. I'm going to give the final word to the doctor. Doctor, tell us what needs to be done. I know the next 15 days are critical for Delhi. What do we need to do to bring down this caseload? Not just bring down the caseload, but to, bend the curve, as it were.
The citizens have to change their nature. The citizens have brought this disease to this level that we are all suffering at this stage. Everybody thought that COVID is a very mild disease, and they were really moving around the entire country. They were going. You go to different restaurants. You go to different places which are vacation places. You would find even that hotelier. The way he was saying, I have been to a restaurant and seen how people are ganged up together and eating together. And the COVID norms, I even actually called the general manager of that hotel to tell him that please follow the COVID norms. So this doesn't happen because I'm not blaming the hotel. I'm blaming people. I'm blaming the citizens of this country.
Yeah, that's just the way we are, right?
I'm blaming the citizens of this country.
Okay, I got to really wrap up. I'm really out of time. Thank you very much, though, Dr. Chatterjee, Mr. Baheti, Atishi, and of course, Tom Varadkar for joining us. One humble appeal to all of you there. Just wear a mask, please. That is the only way you can protect yourself, you can protect your families, you can protect your near and dear ones, and you can protect everybody else in this city that we all so much love. And that's true for across the country. The next 15 days, the next 3 weeks are going to be absolutely critical, folks. If we cannot, rein this curve back in over the next 2 weeks to 3, then we are going to be in a very, very tough spot. So let's not get there. Let's not have to cross that bridge. Let's rein it back a notch or two before we get there. So I wish you all good luck. I'll see you again tomorrow night, same time.